In the grey industrial town of Milford in northern England, where old brick factories stood like tired giants and rows of modest terraced houses lined the cobbled streets, lived a gentle 10-year-old boy named Charlie Whittaker. Charlie had messy dark hair that fell over his kind brown eyes and a smile that could light up the rainiest Manchester sky. His family was poor but rich in love. They lived in a small, slightly leaky house with his parents, grandparents, and little sister Rosie. Money was always tight, especially after the big chocolate factory on the hill closed years ago, leaving many families struggling. One chilly autumn evening, as thick fog wrapped the town and golden street lamps glowed softly, Charlie sat on the worn doorstep watching other children laugh with their fancy new toys. His coat was too thin, his shoes had holes. A single tear slipped down his cheek. "Why do I never get anything special?" he whispered. "I try so hard to be good, but the world feels so unfair." Inside, his family shared one small bar of chocolate for everyone's birthdays. Charlie always broke his piece into tiny bits so everyone could have a taste. But lately, even that felt impossible. Hunger and wanting gnawed at him, not just for food, but for hope. That same week, something magical happened. The enormous, mysterious Willow chocolate factory, which had stood silent and walled off for decades, suddenly announced it was reopening. Golden tickets hidden inside ordinary chocolate bars promised a once-in-a-lifetime tour and a lifetime supply of sweets. The whole town buzzed with excitement. Greedy children dreamed of riches and endless candy. Charlie dared to hope too, though he knew his family could barely afford one bar. His wise grandfather, old Mr. Joe, who had once worked at the factory as a young man, placed a gentle hand on Charlie's shoulder. "Listen, lad," he said in his warm, crackly voice, eyes twinkling under bushy white eyebrows. "Some chase sweets with greedy hands and lose everything. The humble heart finds the real treasure." Grandpa Joe became Charlie's closest friend and guide through the adventure ahead. Charlie's parents scraped together enough coins for one chocolate bar. When he opened it at the family table by the flickering fire, a shining golden ticket glowed inside. The room erupted in joyful tears and hugs. Charlie's face lit up with pure wonder. "I can't believe it's me," he said softly, never boasting. The big day arrived on a crisp winter morning. Snow dusted the rooftops of Milford like powdered sugar. 5 children, including Charlie, gathered at the factory gates. There was proud Augustus, who bragged about eating more than anyone, spoiled Veruca, whose rich parents gave her everything she demanded, competitive Violet, always chewing gum and showing off, and clever but sneaky Mike, obsessed with screens and winning at any cost. Mr. Willy Wonka, the eccentric owner with a tall hat, purple coat, and twinkling mischievous eyes, welcomed them with a dramatic bow. The factory inside was a breathtaking wonderland. Rivers of chocolate flowed under glowing bridges, trees grew candy canes, and meadows of marshmallow flowers swayed in sweet breezes. Charlie's eyes widened with innocent delight. He held back, watching and appreciating every small marvel instead of rushing forward. The other children, however, showed their true hearts. Augustus ran straight to the chocolate river and began gulping greedily. "Mine, all mine," he shouted. Moments later, he fell in with a splash and was sucked away into giant pipes, covered in chocolate. Charlie reached out to help but was too late. His face showed real worry. "Is he going to be okay?" he asked softly. Wonka simply smiled. "Some lessons come sticky." Veruca demanded a golden goose from the goose room. When she didn't get it instantly, she stamped her feet and screamed. The squirrels judged her bad nut and sent her down the garbage chute. Charlie stood quietly, offering her a kind word even as she had mocked his old coat earlier. Violet chewed an experimental gum that turned her into a giant blueberry. She boasted the whole time about being the best. Mike tried to teleport himself to the prize room using Wonka's strange machines and shrank himself to the size of a fingertip. Each time, Charlie felt sad for them rather than glad. He shared his small piece of chocolate with a tired Oompa Loompa worker and helped a little girl who had dropped her candy. Grandpa Joe walked beside him, whispering, "See, Charlie? Greed makes the journey short and lonely. Humility keeps your heart open." The tour grew more magical and testing. In the garden of pure imagination, temptations surrounded them, endless lollipops, fountains of soda, walls you could eat. Charlie felt very hungry. His stomach rumbled loudly, but when he found a perfect chocolate flower, he broke it and offered half to Grandpa Joe and even saved a piece for his little sister at home. The other children had pushed and grabbed without thinking of anyone else. A turning point came in the final hall. A special machine could grant any wish, but only to one child. Veruca, Augustus, Violet, and Mike, now normal-sized again after correction, argued and fought, each claiming they deserved it most. They boasted about how rich, strong, or clever they were. Charlie stood back quietly. When Wonka asked him what he wanted, Charlie looked down at his worn shoes. "I just want enough so my family never feels cold or hungry again," he said humbly. "And maybe, a little shop where kids like me can afford a treat sometimes." No demands for himself. No greed for power or endless riches. Just quiet, heartfelt hope. The greedy children laughed at him. But suddenly the machine glowed warmly only for Charlie. The others were gently escorted out, learning their lessons the hard way. Wonka placed a kind hand on Charlie's shoulder. "I've been watching," he said, his voice warm for the first time. "The factory has waited many years for a child with a humble heart. Greed destroys. Humility builds something lasting." Charlie's life transformed beautifully but gently. The factory didn't just give him riches, it gave his whole family new purpose. They moved to a warmer wing of the factory grounds but kept their loving ways. Charlie helped design simple, affordable chocolates so every child in Milford could enjoy a small joy. He visited schools, sharing stories of the tour and teaching that true sweetness comes from kindness, not grabbing. Grandpa Joe told bedtime stories by the new fireside every night. Charlie's little sister Rosie grew up watching her brother's example. Even the once greedy children changed slowly after their adventures. Augustus learned moderation, Veruca learned gratitude, and the others discovered better ways. Charlie welcomed them when they returned, never holding grudges. One beautiful spring evening, as cherry blossoms floated down the streets of Milford like pink snow and the factory chimneys puffed sweet cocoa scent into the air, Charlie stood on the hill with his family and Grandpa Joe. The town below twinkled with lights. Midnight blue sky stretched wide above the Yorkshire-style moors nearby. "I once felt so small and sad," Charlie said, voice thick with emotion. "But staying humble showed me the greatest treasure isn't chocolate or gold. It's love, family, and a heart that thinks of others." Grandpa Joe's eyes shone with proud tears. "You've made the factory truly magical again, lad. Because you never let greed win." Charlie smiled, holding his sister's hand. He no longer felt the heavy weight of wanting. Instead, his heart felt light and full. From that day on, children across northern England heard the story of humble Charlie and the golden ticket. Whenever greed tempted them, for the biggest toy, the most likes, or the last sweet, they remembered the boy who gave half his chocolate away and won everything that truly mattered. Humility really does beat greed. It opens doors that selfishness slams shut. And in the end, the kind heart finds a lifetime of sweetness. Charlie looked out over his hometown, arms around his loved ones, and whispered thank you to the stars. The boy who once cried on cold doorsteps now brought warmth to everyone. His journey had been sweet in all the ways that counted most.